Okay guys, this is page 2, starting with number 7 up here. The side of an equilateral triangle is 24 centimeters. So you guys remember that an equilateral triangle is a triangle that has 3 equal sides. I'm going to go ahead and use my little handy dandy picture maker here. And it just so happens that they gave us a nice perfect half of this triangle here. So I'll go ahead and do that. So on this equilateral triangle, we know that these 3 are the same length. Okay, and it says the side of an equilateral triangle is 24 centimeters. So that means that all of these sides are 24 centimeters. Find the length of an altitude of the triangle. So now I already drew this in, but an altitude of the triangle we've talked about before is the height of the triangle. And you always measure the height perpendicular to one of the bases. So you wouldn't say you're going to measure diagonally to get the height. You'd measure straight across, as we call it, the perpendicular or shortest distance here. So I just need to figure out, okay, I've got 24, 24, and 24, but do I have any angles or anything? Well, yeah, this is an equilateral triangle, which means these are 60-degree angles. We've learned that all 3 of them are the same, and 3 60 degrees make a 180. So because of that, I can use this 60 and this 24, and I'm going to call this opposite. H here is my opposite. This is my hypotenuse, and this side down here that I don't really care about right now is my adjacent. I may care about that in a later problem, but not right now. So using this, I've got trig with opposite and hypotenuse. That's so, S-O-H. So sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so that means the sine of, in this case, theta is 60 degrees, equals opposite, which is our h, over hypotenuse, which is our 24. Okay, so multiply both sides by 24 to get this solved, and I'm going to get 24 sine 60. So h equals 24 sine 60. All right, and I plug that into my calculator, and I'm going to find that h is equal to 12 square roots of 3. All they asked us to find was the length of the altitude, so we've done that. Let's move on. Okay, use this triangle. Choose the correct ratio to find tangent of B. So what do we know about tangent? Tangent, okay, tangent of theta equals opposite over adjacent. That's that nice TOA, right? T-O-A. So I need to look at B and say, okay, from B, what is opposite adjacent hypotenuse? Well, we know that C is hypotenuse. We know that B is across, right? Across, so that's opposite. And we know that A is adjacent. So now, take a second, see if you can figure out what it is. And tan of B equals B, which is opposite, over A, which is adjacent. And that is my answer. B over A is the answer. There's nothing else I can do. They're all letters. It's not like they gave me anything I could solve. So yes, tan B is B over A. Moving on. And I hope you guys feel free to pause this at any time when I'm about to give something and take a second to work it yourself, especially if you're doing this at home. So find the cosine of angle A. Let's see. So at angle A, I am looking at opposite over here, hypotenuse over here, and adjacent here. So I'm going to work this out, and I'm going to find cosine. So ca, right? So cosine theta equals adjacent over the hypotenuse. That's the ca part, adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine of which is theta. Theta is angle A in this case. This is our theta, okay? So cosine of A is equal to adjacent, which is 10, over hypotenuse, which is 26. And they may put it as 10 over 26. They also might reduce that to 5 over 13. And it's possible that they could put that in as 5 divided by 13 equals, and of course the calculator is going to give it to me as 5 over 13. So I got to hit this fancy little F to D button right here, or S to D, depending on your calculator, and it gives me a decimal 0.384. So it's approximately 0.38. Okay, moving on. The perimeter of a square is 54 centimeters. Number 10. Find the length of a diagonal. Find the length of a diagonal. Okay, so if I've got a square, and I know that whatever this side is x, okay, and those x's add together to be 54. So I'm going to say, look, perimeter equals 54. That means that x plus x plus x plus x. That's 4 x's equals 54. So I'm going to divide both sides by that. I'm going to get x equals, now 54, that's 40 plus 14. That doesn't go real easy. That's going to be, what, 17.5, I believe. Okay? I may be wrong on that, so check me. Let's do it here. 54 divided by 4. Yeah. 13.5. You see, Mr. Conaway, you make mistakes too. So 13.5. 13.5. Okay, so 13.5 is going to be the outside. And now they've asked, what is this diagonal? D. Well, once again, you have a choice. You can use Pythagorean's theorem with 13.5 and 13.5 to find D, or you could use this 45-45 right triangle. By now, you should have worked enough of them that you're starting to see a pattern. This will be the same as this, and this one's always going to be 13.5 times the square root of 2. But you're also going to have 45-degree angles here, 45-degree angles there, and you can use trig as well and say that, look, the sine of 45 equals the opposite from this angle, which is, 13.5, over the hypotenuse, which is this d we don't know. And you can solve this and get d equals 13.5 divided by sine 45. But either way, however you do it, you're going to get 13.5 root 2. And it says round that to the nearest tenth. Okay? So if I do this 13.5 divided by sine 45, and then I get, it's going to give me this 27 root 2 over 2. I'm going to hit S to D button right there once again. S to D button, and I'm going to get the decimal 19.09. So I'm going to say that the diagonal is 19 point, and it says to the nearest tenth, so 19.1. And that is centimeters. Okay, moving on to number 11. Find the cosine of angle C. So from angle C, we're going to go ahead and label. From angle C, I know that this is opposite, this is hypotenuse, and this must be adjacent. Now, we know that cosine is ca, C-A-H, okay? So ca, let's take a look at that. Ca is going to be 5 over 10 from C, right? So cosine of theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Cosine of C equals 5 over 10. And that's going to be 1/2. So the cosine of C equals 1/2. Okay. And that's all they asked you to find. Moving on to the next one. Use that same diagram to find the tangent of angle B. So if I go back up here and look at angle B, well, now everything's going to reverse. I'm going to have to use a different color here, because from here, this is now opposite, and this is now adjacent. Hypotenuse stays the same, but tangent should be opposite over adjacent. So I got to make sure I don't use those green ones this time, because I want the B. So tangent of B is equal to opposite over adjacent, which is tan, I'll move up, tan b equals 5 over 5 roots of 3. God, that's not a pretty thing. So I know that 5 over 5 is going to reduce, and I'm going to get tan b equals 1 over the root of 3. But you guys know you can't leave that root 3 in the bottom. We talked about that. We said we got to rationalize it. How do you get rid of a square root? Well, you can't square it, but you can multiply it by 1 in sheep's clothing, right? And what's our sheep going to look like today? Well, he's going to look like square root of 3 over 3. Because when I got that's just a 1. But it does something for us. 1 times root 3 is root 3 on top. Root 3 times root 3 is going to be root 9, which is a 3. So root 3 over 3 is the answer there. Okay, moving on. What's the value of x? Now, luckily on those last problems, guys, Calci here will, if you do 1 divided by root 3, it will do that for you. Okay, so find the value of x. I've got 35, 24, and x. Let's just go ahead and do this. I'm only going to label the ones I need here. Opposite. This is hypotenuse. It looks like I'm going to be using so, because of so, ka, toa. So has opposite and hypotenuse in it, so I'm going to go ahead and set that up with the sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Sine of 35 equals 24 over x. Okay. So multiply both sides by x. And I'm going to get x sine 35 equals 24. Divide both sides by sine 35. And I'm going to get x equals 24 over sine 35. And I'm going to have to put that in my calculator because that's not a pretty easy one that I can do. So 24 divided by sine 35. And you can put that in a fraction or you can put division. And I'm going to get 41.8. It doesn't tell me what to round that to, so I'm just going to put 41.8. It will be multiple choice, so you'll be able to pick whichever one is closest. Okay, find the area of a circle with a diameter of 9 inches, round to the nearest hundredth. So if I've got a circle and the diameter across is 9, I want to find the area. That means I need to figure out what the radius is. The radius is going to be half of 9, which is 4.5 inches. Okay, so area is equal to pi r squared. And so I'm going to put area equals pi times 4.5 squared. And that should have an inch in there. Okay, so area equals pi times 81 over 4, which is 20.25. So 20.25 inches squared, because I squared those as well. And then I'm going to multiply by pi, because it does say round to the nearest hundredth, which means it's going to want me to round. So that's going to be times pi, and pi is down here. Do not use 3.14. There we go, 81 over 4. If you ever get it wrong for not using 3.14, then I will give you the points for it. But 63.62 rounded to the nearest hundredth. A is approximately 61.62 inches squared. Okay, that is the end of page 2. Got it done in about the same amount of time.